Welcome to the Signal 50 podcast for April 25th, 2021. A little bit different format tonight. Reasons. I want to say good evening to everybody out there in podcast land. Howdy, everybody. We're done with the better part of April at this point. Still kind of chilly and nasty out there. We're kind of hoping that summer does show up. Bravo. Good evening to you, sir. How are you?
Alpha, good evening to you. Great to hear you again. Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. Yeah, slight technical difficulties on Wednesday night, everybody. Yeah, stuff happens. Anyhow, moving along. So you might notice that we're a little bit different in format, a little housekeeping up front, bottom line up front. There's a couple things going on. We're just checking a few things against a control here. And we'll come back with our findings here soon enough. But needless to say, we're having some challenges with our tech overlords. And we'll just go from there.
Anyway, so we're gonna get going here very quickly, move things along.
That's right.
And when we get into this, I think this past week with the technical difficulties and things like that, we do know that things are happening in Arizona very quickly. The election is according to the rules and everyone else, it's been decided. Got Biden in the White House. There you have it. We've talked about this, Alpha. I'm not a big fan of it. We also know what's going on around us. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But with a lot of persistence, many of you, if you watch War Room, if you watch Stephen K. Bannon, you watch what's going on in Arizona right now, we do have the audit is on.
That's right.
I don't put it past the deep state and the rest of them to try and challenge this. They tried already, but they didn't want to come up with $1 million, which they knew was going to be a losing battle, a losing. That's a bet they didn't want to take. And everything's legal, so they've been training. I believe they started counting. And you can watch this on azaudit.org. Everything's transparent. And I kind of wish this was present during the November 2020 stuff. But I think this is kind of cool to see, and I think everyone should check it out.
Well, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens. I'm really quite interested in the results, and I hope this does catch on in a few other places. You know, nothing is going to change anything, and no one's trying to change anything. I think what's happening is we need to figure out what happened here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this will be very interesting. What I find very interesting is the Democrats didn't want to put up $1 million bond. That's chump change to them, right?
Right. Well, you would think it would be. I wouldn't put it past them to try and get an injunction somewhere else. But again, we will find out. It's going to be one of those wait and sees. And the margin of victory in Arizona was 10,000 votes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they're looking. This isn't just a recount, and the recounts I didn't believe really. Well, you recount the same stuff without taking a close look at it. They're using ultraviolet light to see if the ink is fluorescent. Fluoresces. They're using all kinds of, are there folds on the ballots? Are there other signs? They have a whole process. It's all open. You can read about it. Mark Fincham is a state senator out in Arizona. He is the spearhead to this whole process. I strongly encourage you all to check him out. He's on Parler. He's on Telegram. He's not on Twitter anymore. But, but go figure. So this is amazing stuff. They have cameras on all the time. They have security officers. They have police. Right. They have uniform, non-uniform. This is all open. So I mean,
and if you're watching right now, this is actually the live stream.
Right. They have a live stream and the cameras, and then camera number 3 is interesting. They have a sequestered area with fencing, and all of the ballots that they're recounting are lined up, ready to go. And it took a long time to get out of Maricopa County supervisor's fingers to get this. They tried everything they could to make sure that it would be able to come to fruition. So again,
all I have to say is a recount is a it should be de rigueur, or it should be a routine thing to go through a recount, right?
Hmm.
Because what are you afraid of? You either counted them right the first time or you didn't.
And it's not a good sign when you have Antifa and BLM coming into town, booking hotel rooms and all kinds of stuff. And the governor decides to move finally the National Guard to the border. Convenient, don't you think? So
Right.
President Trump the other day did come out and say, Governor, what's his name there? Ducey. Why don't you put the National Guard and get security going around the arena where this recount is occurring and this audit? Excuse me, it's not a recount; it's an audit. It's a forensic audit. So, anyway, thought everyone would like to know about that.
Very interesting to see how that turns out.
Yep.
Very interesting to see how that turns out.
So, moving on, I've been chatting with friends of mine, people that are building houses, people that are looking to get into the market or sell their homes. Selling is a hot market right now.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is just personal experience. I have a project I was working on. I needed one sheet of plywood, and it had to be pressure treated. I was working on something that's going outside, not touching the ground, but as part of a project I'm working on. And I had to go down to Lowe's, and it's not a plug for them, it's just a place I decided to go, one of the big box stores. And normally, from what I remember, is about $25 a piece, for one full piece of sheet wood. Or I'm not
3/4 inch pressure treated marine grade plywood.
Right, exactly. I had to fork over $74.99 for one sheet of plywood.
Well, what do you think that's doing to people's construction budgets?
It's interesting you mentioned that, Alpha. I did speak with a couple of people that are looking to build houses, and the cost of materials. One had the takeoff. They do takeoffs. They say, these are your plans. This is how many 2x6s you need, and how many pieces of sheet wood you need. Sheet rock. Blah blah blah. $70,000 on average, up to $150,000 now.
That's insane.
It is, and I said to myself, "Wow, that is." That's pretty remarkable. In the last, we're not even at 100 days yet, are we, for the new administration?
Well, we have a listener out there, TJ Hop. He's commenting that it's $69 for a sheet of 1/2 inch plywood.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yikes.
at the orange place yesterday. Jeez.
Good God. And they were nice enough to cut it for me. I mean, they cut it in half for me. They didn't charge me anything for it. But the project I'm working on needed a full sheet.
I'm ashamed of you. You can't cut your own plywood.
Not straight, no.
Oh my God. Anyhow.
Well, they had that big fancy saw at the place. I was like, well,
yeah, big panel saw. That's nice to have.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, the price of things are, the market is very volatile right now, and I was just, it's funny. We should get into this conversation. The housing market itself it's insanity. In my area, people are putting their houses on the market, and bidding wars are ensuing, and they're getting $175,000 to $200,000 over their asking price for a house.
Wow.
That is complete insanity.
Unbelievable.
So the values of everything are so greatly overinflated right now versus their true value in the long run. And there's a factor out there that nobody's really wanting to realize or discuss. It's going to be very important to pay attention to. Look, most states, I think all of the states through the federal government, I think there's a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures until June 1st. Now, I think that we all can understand that there's been the government has put everybody out of work and a lot of people out of business. It just is what it is at this point. Now, how many people are behind on their mortgage? I know a number of people that are. How many people are risking foreclosure? I know a number of people that are. Now, what
June
happens when
1st.
all of the in June 1st? What happens when all of the we've talked about it before on the show. At last count, there were about 40,000 foreclosures and evictions, and or combination foreclosures or evictions are going to be served in in the county that I live in, just
Mhm.
my county.
Mhm.
What is that going to do to the housing market?
Um, well, you're going to have a lot of people getting out, right? Banks are taking over the mortgages, so it becomes their issue, and then people are not going to have jobs, they're not going to have money, and it's going to crash. Everything's going to fall right down, and housing will become cheaper very quickly. The values, now this is the problem though, the values in our homes are major investments, and
That's
those are
right.
all going to plummet also.
That's right. That's right. And this is all tied together.
Mhm.
Guy, everybody out there, we're trying something a little bit different with the formatting, and we're working on a couple of different things here. We just wanted to have a free form discussion on where we think things are going. Looking at the tea leaves as we see them, uh, and the economy is going to be something that's going to affect everybody.
Yeah. And I think one other contributing factor to this is the fact that the government is printing money faster than the machines can print it.
That's right.
And that's
We're writing checks that we can never hope to cover.
right. And I believe the word that is common to all of this, Alpha, is inflation. We are dealing with inflation at a level we've never seen before, and it's going to happen. It's
I
based on policies from the current occupant of the White House.
Right. I don't think that we've hit a level of inflation just yet, but I think that we are headed definitely in the direction of maybe hyperinflation, and it's going to be bad. Look, if anybody out there thinks that they're immune from this, you're not, because the value of your home is going to drop. It's going to have to drop because there's a big bubble right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's a seller's market, if you're getting out of the market, now's a great time to do it. I wouldn't wait too much longer. We're just having
Right.
a conversation. Uh, I know there's a couple people in our audience that know this certain individual that I might have been talking to. We'll just not share names. Pretty tall fella. Anyhow, we were talking about it, and some real estate stuff is going on there. And the message is, I need to sell my house quickly and take advantage of this hot market, or I'm going to, I'm going to be in trouble.
Mm.
So there it is. Here comes 2008 all over again, probably within the next 4 to 5 months.
I think on steroids,
Oh
it's going to
yeah.
make 2008 look like a dog and pony show.
What are the
Like,
banks going to do? What are these mortgage lenders going to do? When they have to go out and it's their money on the line, secured in a piece of real estate. And when somebody just stops paying, what are they supposed to do?
well, they were told to leave it alone, but now they're going to start taking it back, and you're going to have to get return on their investment somehow. But again, we're not economists, but we'll find out.
Well, I am an economist. You're an economist. Our audience,
Oh,
everybody is an economist around their own kitchen table.
that good point, sir. I did not think of that. Yeah.
Everybody needs to be an economist around their own kitchen table, and it's time to stop thinking about, at our age, we think a little bit more long term.
Mm,
What is my life going to look like in 15 years? What
mm,
is my life going to look like, in 20 years? What are the costs going to look like in 20 years? How do I sustain the lifestyle to which I've become accustomed
mhm.
in retirement 15 years from now? What do I have to do? Okay, so they tell us, let's put away money in a 401k, or I am employed in a position with a pension, that's a public trust pension, public union. What is that going to look like when you're ready to start drawing money off of it?
Well, it's going to look like it doesn't look as good as you think it does right now, because the value of those funds and the amount of printing of money that's going on right now decreases the value of the dollar that's there.
That's
And
right.
it's going to take more money to buy a loaf of bread than it did before. So instead of paying $1.50 or whatever it was, now it's going to be $10
Right.
because of all this printing. And again, it's not only just the printing of the money, it's the taxes, it's the amount of money we're going to have to pay to the government. So
Right.
when you hear the White House talking about raising capital gains from
Yes.
24% that it is now.
Wait. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very important. This is
So
very important to listen to about raising taxes and the capital gains taxes, and how it is going to impact you and me and everybody else.
right. So
Go
talking about
ahead.
capital gains, which is something that you have to pay long-term capital gains when you hold a stock for longer than a year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alpha. I believe that's the last time I
Something like
talked to
that.
my accountant. Okay. So anyway, when you sell a stock, everyone get ready for this. It's going to go from 24% all the way up to 58%. 48% for the government. And if you live in one of the high tax states, add another 10% to that because they got to get their money because they can't afford anything that they keep spending money on. And they're going to take it from you. Now, we've all been promised. Now, I saw the writing on the wall when they said we're going to take from the rich. We're going to tax those rich people.
Well, wait a minute. What does rich mean?
Well, they told us anyone making more than $400,000 would be taxed, and then they changed their mind and said, well, if you're married and you're combined 400,000, 200,000 for single people. I mean, they changed their mind more than I change underwear. So, you know what? I don't trust them. All I know is they're going to keep taking money away from us, making it more money going to the government to pay for their programs that I don't support, nor do I want. That's another story for another day. We have to have some kind of sensible policy. And that's another reason why I'm not a big fan of the current occupant of the White House.
Well, it all gets summed up in the following way. What you're saying is you don't want your money being spent on programs you don't agree with. Okay, fine.
Correct.
Let's just say that the spending that the government is participating in right now, and even in the last administration, just because of COVID and certain things that needed to be done, I don't necessarily agree with them either. It was the cost of doing business at the time, and it still kind of is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This country cannot sustain that pace and level of spending without impacts elsewhere. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot keep printing money and hope for the same results in the big pool of money out there. Your money just got diluted.
That's right.
Right. Now, that being said, you have some policy decisions that are being made at a more local level and on the federal level that takes effect later on with the raising of minimum wage to a $15 minimum wage.
Right.
Now, okay. Two things will happen. Minimum wage jobs are not meant to be careers. However, there are people out there that they work minimum wage jobs. They just do. It is what it is. And it will be great for that person to see their paycheck, double if they are able to keep their jobs, because the overhead cost of the business got raised so high, it might not be sustainable. Okay, so there's an impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to make cuts in your overhead costs to cover your differences, your deltas, and your G&A costs have to go down, your gross and accounting. Now, considering that the cost of the goods sold, the COGS, cost of goods sold, will have to be raised proportionately to the price it costs you to produce them at base cost in your G&A, your $15 minimum wage employee on an assembly line or in a bakery or whatever, or wages raised across the board, across the entire supply chain. the cost of consumer goods is going to go through the roof.
Mm.
It necessarily has to cover the costs in the raise in the labor rate. It just is what it is. Follow?
Or they're going to find computers to take your place. You're going to just interact with a computer and order your whatever, and they're going to have less people. They can have a machine flip a burger just as well as a person can nowadays. So,
well, we've already started to see that happen in a lot of McDonald's, and McDonald's is a pilot for a lot of this technology and labor saving technology that they've been doing it for years, and they're very, very good at it.
mm-hmm.
They've eliminated cashiers by me. There are no more cashiers at McDonald's except at the drive-through. That's
and it. Those are good first-time jobs. Taught responsibility.
They really are.
So, anyway, moving on to our next topic.
Buckle up, everybody. The economy is in for a bumpy ride. I would strongly recommend, if you have a portfolio out there somewhere, which most people do, of some kind, a 401k, a retirement, a pension fund, et cetera, whether it's self-funded, publicly funded, doesn't matter. Get a hold of an investment advisor or your investment advisor in the short term and start discussing some different options. I think that would be a wise thing to do.
Yes, indeed, sir.
Not giving any financial advice. I'm telling you, go seek financial advice.
Mm-hmm. Protect yourselves. Protect
yourself, because no one else is going to protect you. Period.
That's right. All right.
So, moving along.
Yeah. So we do have, we talked about the Arizona recount. I think one of the things that we noticed this past week with all the decisions and the cases and the issues that we were seeing, with the jury that we were talking about last show. Remember this, Alpha? There was a juror that was discharged. Like before the deliberations actually started, was found out that she was the alternate on the jury. So they have different. They don't know who they are. They listen to the whole thing, and then they don't need to move the alternate into the deliberation seats. This is in Minnesota. Then that person is discharged. So she was talking with people because it sounds like she didn't have anyone protecting her, because she really opened her mouth to the point where she described they were so worried about what was going to happen if they did not find him guilty on all charges. We're talking about Chauvin, that the place would erupt and that they just wanted to see it end. Now,
I think it's beyond. Hold on one second. I was listening to some of the same reports. As many of you in the audience know, I lived in the Twin Cities metro area for a number of years. I know a lot of people out there. I pay very close attention to a resource out there. They're talking deep on the inside of what's really happening in the city of Minneapolis. There's some good reporting that's being done out of there, and there's some good stories and good man on the street type things that are coming out about it. They weren't necessarily worried about, the city of Minneapolis burning down. Bravo. They were more concerned about being found out and having their houses burned to the ground.
Mm-hmm. That too. Well, that was summer. Excellent point. They were worried about their houses being,
that's right,
coming, BLM and Antifa coming to their house, and that just emboldens the BLM terrorists and the Antifa terrorists.
Well, it looks like they won.
Yep. And now they're not done. They haven't let go of the Minnesota chop zone, or whatever they're calling it in Minnesota.
The George Floyd zone at 38th in Chicago.
Yeah, they're not letting that go. They continue that. They continue holding on to that. And then, of course, you have emboldened, now they're showing up in Arizona. We talked about that in the beginning of the show, why they're showing up in Arizona. So this is not the way this country is supposed to work. And in my opinion, I don't think he got a fair trial, and they should go right to an appeal quickly and bring this up. Even the judge said it in his closing remarks.
Well, the judge was not. I think this judge did a lot of things poorly in the Chauvin trial. Um, I think he was also quite intimidated by what was going on, and I wonder if there was a lot of pressure by officials in Hennepin County put on him to do some of the things that he did. I don't know that. That'll be interesting to find out maybe someday in the future.
It
But some of the
makes a lot of
decisions he
sense.
made. What's
Yeah,
that?
makes a lot of sense. Didn't put the
Sure.
jury into did not put the jury into sequester mode.
Nope.
Did not make did not change the venue.
No.
That's crazy. Why you wouldn't change the venue is beyond me. But
Because the mob wanted the trial there.
yeah, we're not talking about the mob like from the 30s and 40s. We're talking about the mob like Antifa and BLM.
Well, we have a very astute listener in the audience, TJ Hop, and he said he opened the door for a reversal of the verdict.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think what's really happening here is I think the judge's hands were tied, and I think anyhow, and look, we've been wrong before.
Yep.
This is not something I want to be. This is not
Correct.
something I want to be wrong about because I do think that a great injustice might have been done here. It's possible, but we'll have to see. I think he did kind of open the door for, and he even said it himself. He says, "Well, you've got a lot here to go on for an appeal." Um, well, we're going to have to wait to see how things turn out, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of. I think there's going to be a lot of behind the scenes looking at how this all unfolded. And now rumor has it that the DOJ is starting a wide sweeping investigation of the Minneapolis Police Department. And I also think that they're just trying to do Chauvin in because they're going after him for a 2017 encounter he had on a civil rights case. So I don't know how Derek Chauvin is going to be able to fight the federal government. I mean, they're digging stuff up out of his past just to torpedo him at this point.
Mm.
This is the, once they're down, keep them down, shut up, stay down tactic that the government can use against you. And it's just a bad deal.
Wow. I was going to say for the DOJ to start marching in there and to say, we're going to do an investigation in the Minneapolis Police Department. That's not good because the government just has this overreaching, overbearing way of just coming in there and starting to, take no prisoners. They just go in for to make sure it's final and shut it down. But
it's a big time intimidation tactic to make sure everybody stays on the same sheet of music too, or shuts everybody up.
yeah.
Think about it that way as well.
Yep.
So I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on things there in Minneapolis. It could be interesting coming up.
So we'd also like to just tell everyone out there, if you find something that you want us to talk about, you want to bring it up, we're more than happy to hear about it. You can contact us at info@signal50.com. Make sure you check out our website, signal50.com. And we are looking to get your input about things to talk about.
Sure.
A little bit more audience participation, I would say.
You bet. So let's talk a little bit about the tech giants and where things are and what's going on. What do you say, Bravo?
Go ahead.
Talk into that a little bit.
Yep.
Okay. So everybody heard us talk about Project Veritas, right?
Yep.
And what's Project Veritas doing?
They are making big lawsuits.
big lawsuits against Twitter, New York Times, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, is that going to change anything? I don't know the answer to that question. I can tell you that tech censorship has hit us, even a tiny little podcast started by two good friends on a Wednesday afternoon with an idea. We're not making any money from it, and the tech giants are trying to stifle what we're trying to say because they don't like it.
Right.
And for two people like us to fight them is what, Bravo?
It's impossible.
Correct.
We just can't do it. I mean, we don't know how to do it. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin, but we're also, We're doing this to have a conversation and exercise our First Amendment rights.
Right. Talk about hurting your local economy. If you engage in a lawsuit with these people, you aren't going to win. There's no way to win. So, look, the tech giants have gotten out of control. We're just trying to have a conversation with people, and the gatekeepers of the tech world are throttling what we're saying. They're deleting things from us. They're making false claims about some of the things that we do, and it's really disheartening, right, Bravo?
Oh, very much so.
Very frustrating. Very frustrating. I don't know. Enough about that.
We'll see how this experiment goes today, and we'll get back to you.
Exactly.
Tune in next time to find out how this went.
Film at 11. Actually, probably no film.
No.
No film.
No.
So I know that there was something else you wanted to talk about tonight, Bravo, before we wrapped it up.
You have to remind me.
The Oscars.
Yes, the Oscars. That's why I forgot about it.
Exactly.
Real quick. Really quick. The Oscars are on tonight. And I used to love watching the Oscars and the Grammys and the Emmys, and sometimes they got, the shows that I really liked or the movies I liked were nominated. It was fun to watch and see them get up there and thank everyone. And all of a sudden, I would say it was almost like 10 years ago, and it's really gotten worse up to now, where actors, actresses start preaching to us, telling us how bad we are, telling us how we're not good enough, and that we're privileged, and all this other crap that it just bothers me to no end. I turned it off. And not only am I turning it off, Alpha, I know you turned it off. You didn't pay attention to that stuff even when we were kids.
That's right.
But I think other people are turning it off also. And here's a couple of examples real quick. So, for instance, a couple of shows, big Star Wars fan, when they fired Gina Carano, and she's doing very well, by the way. The backlash is still going on. The fans are leaving in droves from Disney Plus. They stopped watching. They're on the second show of WandaVision, which was a Marvel character. The Scarlet Witch. That's the character of the DC universe. They turned it right off when that happened. Another series just came out for them on Disney Plus, which is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And the second show, they were doing something on. They had an Antifa-like thug who was bashing the American flag, or they were trying to cater to this woke kind of politic. People, and they can find the statistics because they know what's going on. Everyone turned it off. And it's just going on and on. People are now watching baseball games, football games. They're not participating in any of this. And as Dan Bongino says all the time, we got to get them to pay attention. And even Coke is backtracking from their nonsense from the election laws, and so is Delta. Keep it up, everyone. That's all I got to say. Keep it up.
Well, listen, generally speaking, that conservatives, when we engage in a boycott, our boycotts are effective because we actually have money to spend. We're not just sitting there screaming and shouting in the basement. We actually are out there doing things. So It's a different.
Yep. Get woke, go broke.
Go broke.
That's right, Gabe. That's right. Keep it up.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
I think we've hit the end of the show there, sir, because we're trying. Kind of goes quick, but
it does go quick. So everybody, we're just going to try something a little bit different. So stick with us. Bear with us. We're going to come back. I know we promised a special guest, Martha Bonetta. I know we promised her. She has been just slaving away trying to make sure that Virginia doesn't completely spiral into Oblivion. She's working on a gubernatorial candidate program there. She's also working in Georgia on some things, and she's working in Florida on some stuff. So, stay tuned. She's a mover behind the scenes of Republican and conservative politics in the United States, and we are going to have her on as soon as she can sit still for 15 minutes.
Which is very nice of her to do it. We're still
It is.
we'll get it on there. We promise.
We'll get it up. Don't worry about it. And then once we get her on the show, we'll be able to get some more interesting guests, and things might change from there.
Right.
We'll have to see what happens. So there you go. And on that note, I've got nothing else further for the group. How about you?
No, I think it's we're gonna wrap it up early because we're finding some of the things that we're gonna try, and we want to hear what your comments are, what you think of the new format, and how we're gonna do things. Give us an email, info@signal50.com. Check us out on the website, signal50.com, www.signal50.com. And of course, we're on Telegram and we are on Parler.
That's right.
And the app is back, by the way, in the Google Store and on Apple App Store. They are back.
They are back. Everybody, thanks a lot for listening. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's a short show. Appreciate you spending a half an hour of your Sunday night with us, or 36 minutes and 20 seconds to be exact. It's going to be a long week. Apparently summer is about to show up, so everybody get out your shorts and your T-shirts. Hopefully, we have to work for a living in whatever we have to wear, then we can wear the shorts and T-shirts. But anyhow, we want to say, give a shout out to our affiliate, POF USA, POF-USA.com, makers of the finest AR-15 rifles in the United States. Some very innovative products made in Chandler, Arizona. Some of you might have noticed on the Telegram channel, I put the Frank DeSoma Memorial Shooting Range video dedication up out in Arizona. He was quite the guy. I would encourage everyone to go to our Telegram channel and go ahead and check that out. It's really worth your time to watch. Frank DeSoma was a super special person in my life, and he affected a lot of people's lives. He's just a super great guy, tragically taken from us far too soon by a stupid accident. Stupid. Anyhow, on that note, everybody have a great week. Make sure to catch us on the podcast.
Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.